Well, here's the thing. People are lazy and like don't want to have to learn how to do something new or something that like maybe has two steps more than what they used before. I mean, people have to get over that. It's not going to be the easiest route is to go the slavery route, and that's how they've designed it on purpose. The whole selling point of that system is that it's convenient and easy. So obviously it's going to take some work to go the other route. But yeah, I mean, the future of human freedom depends on it. So I think it's a pretty easy choice. And if you have to do some, tutorials or whatever, why the internet is still like sort of functioning the way it should function to an extent in terms of like democratizing access to information, like let's please do that and not be like, oh man, I wish I did that now that they've screwed the whole internet over and I have to get a digital ID if I want to be online anymore,
Yeah.
Like now is the time. Now is the time. And not enough people are talking about it or are focused on solutions. And I think, that's one of the major problems in independent media right now, just in general, is that it's all about clicks and who's going to watch my stuff and talking about stuff that's going to keep my audience like sucked in, I guess. And not necessarily so much about like, how do we get out of this? And if you want to think that this timeline, or, if it seems to you like it does to me, that the timeline for action is getting increasingly small, we got to start doing stuff and we got to start talking about how to do that stuff. And if you don't have like the developing, the programming know-how or whatever, there are people that do, right? And you can support them or you can learn.
Yeah.
And divest somehow. I mean, for people that don't want to do that too, there's options like Ramiro Romani runs a Above phone, and they make de-Googled smartphones ready to go, super easy. You can buy it from his website. They're making laptops now for people that don't want to have to invest the time and like putting Graphene OS on a phone themselves, or learning all this, learning a Linux necessarily. Like they make it really easy, and there's never been a better time to do that than now, because if you see where Microsoft's going, you're not going to be able to keep access to your own data unless you avoid committing thought crime for Microsoft. I mean, that's just nuts.
No, and to continue mapping this out for people, like going back to StartOS, it's created by a company called Start9 Labs, and they're essentially creating an operating system that will allow you to self-host all of your stuff. So you'll have a server at your house. They partner with Purism to get their operating system out of the box. So you can buy one of the Purism laptops if you want to. You can buy a Purism server, plug it in, and then it's plug and play. You get the de-Googled, de-Apple, de-Microsoft software suite, and then you can host all of your data on your own machine, your pictures, your files. You don't have to send it to the cloud and feed the AI superstructure that's trying to take your life over.
Man, and the AI stuff is legit insane. So Catherine Austin Fitts, who runs the Solari Report and is awesome in general, and has done a lot of great interviews about CBDCs and the BIS and all of that, asked me to write a piece for their...
Hey, do you still have your Bitcoin on an exchange? Don't hold your Bitcoin on an exchange. Take it into self-custody. If you're looking for an easy way to do that, we have the BitKey. BitKey is Bitcoin made easy to use and hard to lose. Take the first step. Get your Bitcoin off the exchange. Check out the link in the show notes. That'll get you 20% off your BitKey, or use the code TFTC20
issue
at checkout.
On artificial intelligence. And so I decided to write about something I've wanted to do for a while, though it's kind of torturous, which is to read the book on AI written by Henry Kissinger and former Google CEO Eric Schmidt. And, I wasn't really surprised for what I found. It's fucking nuts. And so my piece for them is titled The Final Coup, because I think that's really what it is. So, Henry Kissinger, what has his whole career been, really? So he ran the State Department, and he was like, an operator for groups like the Trilateral Commission and a lot of these other entities that want like global technocracy as sort of designed by groups like the Rockefellers, for quite a long time. And at the State Department, sort of turned using the State Department into an an engine for coup d'etats, into an art form. And then, of course, he leaves the State Department, but essentially trains up most of the other subsequent secretaries of state, including people like Hillary Clinton, for example, among others, of course, who would then go on and do regime change. So, he's a coup guy. And definitely very into realpolitik and all of these things, and a war criminal, and obviously doesn't care about the little people. I think one of his more infamous quotes is about, calling U.S. soldiers like dumb beasts that are like pawns for the people that actually, decide what happens in the world. So definitely an elitist worldview. And you also find that in this book, and it's crazy. So, it basically... there's all these different parts to it, I guess, but essentially their argument is something like AI is going to be so much smarter than us that it's going to be able to see aspects of reality that we can't see, but we should definitely trust that whatever it tells us is in this invisible hidden reality is totally reality and not just some AI hallucination, which is like an actual term, like that's a real phenomenon where AI presents something totally false and provably false as fact, right? So it can very easily be, whatever this quote unquote reality is that AI is identifying is delusional or just made up. It only exists in the mind, quote unquote, of the AI, right? So anyway, they don't bring that up in their book at all. They just say AI is going to allow us to pursue this awesome quest for super knowledge, and we're going to be able to see unseen realities. But there's a trade-off, they say. And the trade-off is that in order to unlock AI's full potential, we have to essentially sell off our ability to perceive reality, and we have to use AI as we're using, as not just as we're using it now, but deepen that involvement to the point where we're essentially dependent on AI to make decisions for us.